Take one. Hey guys, welcome to the Lovin Dubai FIFA World Cup in Russia 2018 preview, and we're lucky to be joined by the #1 preeminent football correspondent in the UAE, Chirs McHardy from Dubai Eye 103.8. Welcome, Chris.
Thank you very much, Rich. Far too nice. Far too nice. #1 preeminent. I will take that, but thank you. It's nice to be here.
You are though, Chris. You're an authority on people listen to your opinions, and you're very well read on the game. And we've all followed the stories that you followed in terms of Ostersons in the tournament this year, and you're very passionate. So
Absolutely.
I think you're what every fan expects of a football journalist. So it's great to have you here.
Thank you so much, and yeah, humbling for that little introduction as well. But really looking forward to what I'm sure will be another very successful FIFA World Cup. It's so wide open, Rich, and I can't wait for the tournament to kick off.
Okay, so it feels like the last one was just a few years ago in Rio, as it was, but it's come around really quickly, and we're here in the UAE FA headquarters in Dubai. They've got one in Abu Dhabi as well, but we're in a magnificent setting here, and we've just had a tour around. What are the facilities like? Facilities
are world class. It's in keeping, I guess, with what we know of the UAE, that they don't do anything by halves. We've seen the pitches, the outdoor facilities, the indoor facilities as well, and you can understand why so many teams, whether it's nations or clubs, come out here to the UAE, because the facilities are second to none.
But unfortunately, UAE aren't representing this time. They've qualified once in the past. Did they come close?
They certainly did. They were in the group of death. They were in the group that I always felt there was always going to be a big nation that was missed out. Japan topped that group, Saudi Arabia finishing second, Australia finishing third, the reigning Asian champions, they had to go through a playoff with Syria to get there. Unfortunately, on this occasion, the UAE missed out, but there are some shoots for optimism. The golden generation is still kicking around. The likes of Omar Abdul Rahman, he doesn't turn 27 until later this year, so there will be another chance for this team to reach a World Cup 2022. You mentioned it. It doesn't seem so long ago we were in Rio.
Yeah.
No doubt about it. We'll be thinking about 2022 before you know it, and hopefully the UAE will be there.
Okay, great. They've got the Asian Cup coming up, and so there's lots of practice games, and there's lots of room for improvement, and a new coach as well.
Absolutely. Alberto Zaccaroni, the Italian who had great success with Japan, won the Asian Cup. I think it was back in 2011 with them. Hugely experienced, won numerous titles over in Italy with AC Milan as well. So he's come in. Language barrier, all of the rest of it. So they're getting to know one another, but Asian Cup is a huge goal now for the UAE. They'll be looking on their own, in their own country to do well in that. I expect that they will. I think, as I say, they've got some talented individuals. Yes, there are some very good nations. The Japans, the South Koreas, the Australias, you always expect them to be there or thereabouts when it comes to an Asian Cup. But there is optimism surrounding the UAE, and if they can have a good 2019 Asian Cup, it then sets them up nicely for hopefully another run at the 2022 World Cup.
Excellent. They do have some representation in Russia this summer. We've just had a chat with ex-UEFA and FIFA referee Steve Bennett. And what's his role here, and what are they?
So he heads up the refereeing here. So he's been tasked with improving refereeing standards, another step, and hopefully to making sure that the UAE one day will be right at the very top of the footballing pyramid. He's done a great job in that, and we're talking to Steve, and he mentioned that his delegation is over right now currently with the FIFA executives. They're working and training themselves to be ready, so when a ball is kicked in anger over in Russia, they're ready to execute what we'll hope will be an incident-free World Cup, especially from a refereeing perspective.
Well, what can go wrong? Do we have VAR in this?
VAR, yes. The much maligned VAR will be in existence. It will be used at the FIFA World Cup. One or two question marks around it, because I don't quite think, yes, the technology, I'm a huge fan of it, Rich. The processes involved, though, to get the fans inside the stadiums, I'm not quite sure we're there yet. Announcement recently that there will be replay shown on the big screen so that fans can get involved in the decision making. That all being said, I'm crossing my fingers and I'm crossing my toes that it passes without incident.
Excellent. Without incident from a failure point of view, but we might have, in the last World Cup, we had the Suarez bite incident and things like that, so I'm sure there'll be a bit of drama.
Oh yes, you can guarantee that, Rich. There's going to be plenty of drama. Let's hope, though, we're talking about the football. Let's hope we're not talking about incidences away from the football pitches. The world's best footballers will be gracing Russia for 4.5 weeks, and let's hope we see some fantastic action, fantastic goals,
And you've been to Russia recently, you know, in terms of actually related to the tournament and the preparation. How's it going? What sort of tournament are we in store for?
It's a good question. That I don't know. What I can tell you, Moscow is ready. I popped on over last November for the Russia-Argentina game. That was the curtain raiser, if you will, for the preparations to the FIFA World Cup. And I think the city, if I'm honest, there was a little trepidation there. The city blew me away. Moscow, the people as well, I found them very accommodating, very friendly. The facilities are second to none. The transport links are in. And I was heartened to see that the security was there in its force. So anyone who is thinking of going to Russia to cause problems, don't, because I guess the law enforcement will be coming down hard. So fingers crossed. I'm confident from what I saw on my little fact-finding mission. It only lasted 3 or 4 days, Rich, but I'm confident that it will be a World Cup that passes off without incident.
Great. So what kind of tournament are we expecting? Is this a European tournament? Is this more like South Korea and Japan? They all have a different feel to them, or is it a bit like South Africa in 2010, a bit into the unknown? Who are in terms of time zones, teams, preparations?
Well, time zones are perfect for us. So kickoffs range between about 2 p.m. all the way through, and I think there's a couple of games 11 p.m. here in the UAE. Essentially, it's perfect for us.
Right.
In terms of what we can expect, it's a difficult one. There are so many good teams in all of this, and the likes of Brazil, Argentina, from a South American perspective. Yes, Argentina struggled to qualify, but they've got Lionel Messi. They've got the best player on the planet, in my opinion. Europe, you will look to a Spain, you'll look to the defending champions, Germany. What about a France, who for me on paper, Rich, I think they've got the best squad. So a lot of big teams. I'm expecting a very competitive World Cup. We'll maybe get to a prediction a little later.
Yeah, let's hold off for a second. Cool. UAE aren't in the tournament, but there are 4 Arab nations represented. Who are they? How did they qualify? What hopes did they have?
So we've got the 4 Arab nations. We've got Saudi Arabia, who are there for the first time, I think, since 2006. They were brought there by Bert van Marwijk. Now, he might be someone that your viewers recognise because he was the man that led the Netherlands to the World Cup final in 2010. Sadly, he's not going to be at this World Cup with Saudi Arabia. He is going to be there as manager of Australia. There was a falling out with the Saudi FA and Bert. It meant that he, after getting Saudi Arabia to the FIFA World Cup finals, he moved on. So it will be Juan Antonio Pizzi, who is a Spaniard, former Spain international. He's now the coach of Saudi Arabia. He's had a bit of an indifferent start. 1 win in his first 4 games. He's had a 4-1 defeat to Iraq. They lost 4-0 as well to Belgium. 2 friendlies, of course. So for Saudi, they looked good in qualifying. There's still a bit of a question mark over as they head into the World Cup finals. Egypt will be there with the man of the moment, Mohamed Salah, leading the line. He scored 5 goals in 3rd round qualifying. He is undoubtedly right now, if not the best player on the planet currently, 2nd probably behind Cristiano Ronaldo.
Really, and is there expectation? It's his first World Cup. You know, he's produced at the Champions League level, but they often say it's a different ball game in a FIFA tournament for your country.
Absolutely there is.
Does he go up there with Ronaldo and Messi?
I think he does. I think he does. He scored over 40 goals for Liverpool in his debut campaign this season in Premier League football. He's scored 33 goals, I think it is, in 57 games for Egypt. So at international level, he's already proven. A lot of pressure on him. There will be an awful lot of pressure, not only from fans in Egypt, but the rest of the world now know who Mohamed Salah is. So he's got that expectation on his shoulders. But from what we've seen this season, Rich, he is ready, I think, to take the World Cup by storm.
And so before we move on to the next 2, because the first 2 teams you mentioned are in the same group, so what are their games like, and who will
So they're in Group A. They go up against Russia, the hosts, and Uruguay, who 2-time winners of the FIFA World Cup. They were 4th back in 2010, were Uruguay. Not quite the force they once were. Yes, okay, they've got Luis Suarez, they've got Edison Cavani, but they aren't the team that we saw 8 years ago, I don't think, in South Africa. So I think from Saudi and Egypt's perspective, they'll be confident of getting one of those top 2 spots. The top 2, remember, qualify into the next round, the last 16. As to who I think, I guess the one stat that will worry fans of Saudi and Egypt is that only one host nation has failed to get out of the group. You go back to 2010 when South Africa failed to make it out of the group. So if you think Russia there have got history on their side, Uruguay remain with Suarez and Cavani a dangerous proposition. That all being said, I truly feel that one of those nations, Egypt or Saudi Arabia, not both, one of those nations will make it.
So that would be really interesting. We'll have the time zones here. We'll be following those teams, and hopefully both can qualify.
Yeah.
Russia, before we move on, are they the worst home nation to, but we had South Korea do so well in the past. Can they be the worst home nation to do well?
Well, they're the lowest ranked. They are the lowest ranked, and I think that will count against them, but they'll have such a huge support. And as I say, history shows that host nations, historically, do well. They'll have a nation behind them. Yes, okay, that brings pressures, but it's an open group that, in many respects, and I've talked about this with a lot of my peers, that for me is the most intriguing group. That for me is the most wide open group, because I think the teams, Uruguay maybe aside, the other three are quite evenly matched. And with Mo Salah for Egypt, Hector Cooper, the coach as well, a man who's had great success in club football. Saudi are the unknown quantity with PZ now in there. I still think there's a chance, though, that one of those nations will qualify.
God, I'm so excited about that group alone. Never mind the rest of the tournament. Who else do we have from the Arab world?
So the other one in Morocco, they were in many respects the most impressive in qualifying. They actually finished their third qualifying unbeaten. They didn't concede a single goal either. They've got a manager who I'm a huge fan of, and I'm sure the ladies who are watching this now will take a very keen interest in Hervé Renard. He is the most suave, most sophisticated, he's the most handsome man on the touchline this summer. He has done a great job there. He's had huge success in Africa. He won the African Cup of Nations with Zambia back in 2012. He then won the African Cup of Nations with Ivory Coast in 2015. He's the only manager, in actual fact, to have won African Cup of Nations with two different nations. So he's done a great job at Morocco. They're solid, they're no frills. They had a wonderful win in qualifying against Mali 6-0, and when they really needed a big performance, they had to go to the Ivory Coast and get a result. They did that, a 2-0 win, so look out for Morocco. I think they're in a difficult group though. They've got the group of death: Spain, Portugal and Iran. Morocco will upset one or two of those. I don't think they'll qualify simply because you've got Spain and Portugal, you've got Cristiano Ronaldo and a Spain squad in there. That all being said, they'll shock one or two with how they perform. They're a very good team to watch.
It's also interesting to watch, yeah. There's always a big team that doesn't qualify, so maybe that could be an interesting one.
It could be it.
Upset a few people, a few teams. And who else?
We've got Tunisia as well. They're flying the Arab flag. They're in the group that I'm sure an awful lot of people will be keeping a keen interest on. England are in that one. Belgium, who for many people are the dark horses, they are jam-packed full of quality players. Kevin De Bruyne, chief among them. And then Panama, the unknown quantity. Great story for Panama to reach the FIFA World Cup finals the first time in their history. So for Tunisia, it will be an uphill task. They, in many respects, I think, face the toughest. Morocco as well, let's not forget that. But in terms of a nation, or nations to keep an eye on who could well get into the knockout stages, for me it remains Saudi Arabia and Egypt.
Will any of them win the World Cup?
Stranger things have happened. We've seen in the past Greece win the European Championships back in 2004. Will an Arab nation win the World Cup? Not yet. But if Mohamed Salah continues the form, you never know. Egypt could go a long way in this tournament.
You rate him highly, brilliant, as many do. I can't wait to see what happens. Who will win the World Cup? Let's put you on the spot.
There's the big question. I'm going to say Brazil. I think Tite, a man who spent a spell here as a lane coach back in 2007, was boss of Al Wada back in 2010. Brief spells. He's come in, he's done an incredible job. He's only lost once in 19 games in charge of Brazil. He had a wonderful qualifying campaign. That defeat, incidentally, only came in a friendly against their great rivals, Argentina. They're a well-balanced team. I'll look at what they've got. They've got Neymar, he'll be fit for the World Cup. Coutinho, Gabriel Jesus, Roberto Firmino. So going forward, they've got an embarrassment of riches, and I think Brazil would be my favourites to win it.
Excellent. And Golden Boot, top goal scorer?
That's the difficult one. That's the difficult one. I've looked at the groups, and you're looking at a group that it affords a big name a chance to fill his boots, shall we say, with the goals. Antoine Griezmann, that French group, you've got Australia in there, you've got Denmark, and you've got Peru. He could well have a lot of goals in the group stage. He's been on fire for Atletico Madrid this season. The other one I'd look out for, Timo Werner, young 22-year-old, plays his football for RB Leipzig, Germany. If he starts, the big question will be if he gets game time. Germany will go deep in this competition, so you'd be hard pushed to look past Antoine Griezmann or Timo Werner.
And we haven't mentioned a lot about Germany, but they have a very similar makeup to the last tournament. Same coach, a lot of the same players. Surely Russia's on their doorstep. this should be a good tournament.
It's typical Germany. It's effective, it's efficient. They've had, as you rightly say, they've had a kind of lifeblood there. Joachim Low, Yogi Low, as he's affectionately known. He's been in there since 2006. He replaced Jurgen Klinsmann. He's done a great job. They're world champions for a reason. They've got the likes of Julian Draxler. They've got Mesut Ozil. They've got Leroy Sané. They've got Timo Werner. So Germany will go far. Will they win it? I'll say no. I think they might just get found out, maybe in the semi-finals. I don't see Germany defending it, but never rule out the Germans. That's the one thing that we've learned from the past.
We're missing Italy. Is there anyone else we're missing?
Italy are the big miss. Yeah. First World Cup they're missing since 1958. We're missing the Netherlands as well, who have fallen on tough times since Louis van Gaal left. We're missing as well Chile, who have done so well. Copa America winners back-to-back in 2016 and 17. So we're missing some big nations. We're missing my beloved Scotland as well, Rich. So yeah, we're missing. We're missing Ireland.
And who are the underdogs? Who are the lesser nations like England? Can they go far?
Funnily enough, I actually think England will do all right in this World Cup, and I can't believe I'm quite saying that as a Scotsman. I think England will actually shock one or two. In terms of the smaller nations, Belgium, they've got it all. Roberto Martinez has got so many attacking players. Romelu Lukaku, Kevin De Bruyne, to name just two. Yeah. Belgium will shock. Will shock it. A little. They've not really got a rich history of doing well, and World Cups traditionally show that it's the nations who have been there before who tend to do well. That all being said, this Belgium team defensively, Vertonghen, company, you move forward into your De Bruynes, your Witsels, your Fellaini's. He's got so many good players as Roberto Martinez, and I think Belgium could go far.
Okay, excellent. Well, that's all we've got for today. Really great talking
Thank you,
to
Rich.
Chris. I think we've covered the whole spectrum of the World Cup, and I can't wait to get excited. Thanks for whetting your appetite.
Great stuff. Thank you, Rich.
Cool.
Cheers.
Thanks a lot.
Cheers, man.
Chris.
Thank you.
Thank
Cheers. I could have gone on.
There's an event going on here.
Yeah, no.
They've got an award
Chris,
ceremony.
if you don't mind,
They're actually doing a marketing course at the moment.